practice or are you running a business? Valuation is the ultimate KPI.
Hey there, welcome to the Valuations Podcast, brought to you by Trulytics, the premier transition management and business optimization platform for the wealth management and insurance industries. My name is Mike Langford, and I'm the host of the Valuations Podcast. And this week, I have what I can only phrase as a bit of an aha moment that I want to share with you. And this aha moment happened for me while I was on vacation this past week at Disney World with my family. Now, full disclosure, my family's a bit unique in our Disney experience in that we go pretty frequently. It's about once a year. There are some years we haven't gone, but on average, it's about once a year. We take the family down to Disney. My wife grew up in a Disney family. We've kind of continued that tradition in our family. And so my observations that I'm going to share with you are probably a little more, detailed. And that's kind of the theme of this podcast, right? It is details matter. So the details that I notice may be ones that if you've been to Disney World once or twice over the course of your life, you might not have noticed. But here's the deal. I assure you that you have noticed similar details, positively and negatively, with other experiences that you have in your personal and your professional life. Be that going to hotels, if you frequent a certain hotel chain, if you're a frequent customer, right? If you kind of have you got the card, right? For whatever, you're part of the membership program. Sorry, my little brain was going there. If you're a frequent flyer of an airline, if you you go to certain restaurants or certain business locations frequently, or even if you use online services like a Netflix or Facebook or LinkedIn, you name it, any type of experience that you have recurringly, you're going to start to notice some details in addition to the big stuff. And some of those details, I think, matter. And I think you'll agree that they affect your perception of the value of that experience, of that business that you're receiving or that you're willing to exchange for the use of that service if you're paying for it over time, right? So I think you're really going to enjoy this. Now, here's the deal. I'll kind of set the stage. I think even if you have never been to Disney World, you're probably aware that Disney is known globally as the premier customer experience organization that ever there was, right? That they are the top notch, the standard, the gold standard, if you will, for just how to make people feel welcome and have a wonderful experience. There's a reason why millions of people go to these parks all around the world, and they keep coming back over and over and over again. Disney's got this down, and they make sure they pay attention to everything. And in fact, they're so good at this, and they're so world renowned at it that that businesses everywhere around the world send their employees to conferences at Disney World and other places to learn from Disney people how to give their customers a better experience, how to become more profitable and have retained clients or customers for longer periods of time. They pay attention to everything from the phone number, the website, to the in-person experience when you show up at the hotel. They even pay attention to things like the ride from the airport to the hotel, right? They have this thing called the Magical Express, where literally you can check your bags at the airport with these special tags on them, and your bags will basically show up at your hotel later on. You never even have to touch your bags when you land in Orlando. You get to ride in this luxury motor coach that picks you up right at the airport, directly to the door of your hotel. Really, really cool stuff. So they're just world renowned for the experience. And financial services companies, whether it's wealth management or insurance, banking, they send their people there as well to learn from Disney. So they kind of know their stuff. And if you've ever been to Disney World, Disneyland, or whatever, or one of the international properties, you've probably experienced it, right? You've seen it, right? You know that there are people that work there. They're not just called employees. They're not called staff. They're not the waitress or the waiter, the server. They're called cast members, right? Because this is an experience. This is you're going there for pure entertainment, and it's almost like they're putting a show on for you. And these are the cast members that are there to delight you, right? You've noticed that the facilities are world class, that they are not just one level above, that they're many, many levels above any other theme park, and frankly, any other hotel in the same price category, probably. They have taken details to a whole nother level, right? And, think about it. If you've ever been to Six Flags or a SeaWorld, you've kind of noticed not the same, right? Doesn't mean they're bad. It's just not the same, right? And it's kind of like if you've ever been to a Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton, different than the Marriott. Doesn't mean the Marriott stinks. It's just different, right? And it's a lot better and a lot nicer. And the price obviously reflects that, but it's just a different experience. So, okay, to get to my aha moment, here we go. You ready? One night, after we had been out at one of the parks, we're on the way back to our hotel. The kind of in the property bus drops us off, and we're walking back to our hotel room. We walk past the main building there, right where the Magical Express I mentioned earlier and all the shuttles and buses and whatever would drop you off. And I noticed something, that there are people set up. They're sitting down on the sidewalk. They're workers, cast members, and they're painting the curbs. On the inside of the curb, where the curb meets the street, the vertical part, they're painting it black with little rollers, hand rollers. And on the top, they're painting red so that it looks pristine. The detail of the curb looks really, really nice. And I just stopped for a second and looked at it and said, that's amazing. Because in most cases, you wouldn't give the curb too much thought, would you? Right? It's a curb. Okay, I get it. And there are curbs that are colored, so like, okay, you're in the right spot where you can park here, you can't park here type of deal. And you've probably seen them in cities, but like they get painted once every X amount of years, right? But as I was experiencing the rest of the week, I started noticing like all the curbs are really nicely painted. Like they're not chipped, they're not scuffed. They keep these things up, don't they? That's kind of amazing, because I wouldn't have thought to even look down at the curb, but maybe I would have noticed it, right? And that got me thinking about how much details matter. Now think about the easiest parallel for this is, think about when you've met somebody. You meet somebody, you go to a conference or whatever, or a prospect or client, or somebody who's applying to work at your firm, like an advisor, right? They come in and you shake their hand. Now, the first thing you notice is, you notice their face and maybe their hair, right? Because you're looking them in the eye, they're seeing their smile. Then you reach out, you shake their hand. You might notice their torso area, like if it's a gentleman, does he have a tie on? Is it a decent looking tie? Is it a decent looking shirt? Are they wearing a sport coat or a suit or whatever? You might just kind of notice the general outline of their clothing stuff, unless there's something really that pops out. Super nice or super poor, right? Or super bad, right? If there's a giant stain on their shirt or something like that, you might notice it right away. But by and large, you're kind of noticing the outline, right? And the high level concept of the human being that you're just meeting. But as you start to talk to this person, you start to notice other things. If they're sitting across the table from you, you'll start to scan down and notice their hands as they're talking, and you'll notice if their hands are clean. And because if they're not clean, you'll definitely notice that if they've got chipped up, messed up nails and their hands are dirty. You'll notice if they're wearing a watch, and you'll kind of get a feel for, is it a nice watch or just an average watch? Or is it one of those Apple smartwatches, right? You'll notice if their shirt is tailor fit, or if it's kind of just an off the rack and it's a little bunchy, right? You'll notice details. If you're standing, you might even scan down and notice what kind of shoes they're wearing. Are they nice, clean, polished shoes? Are they casual shoes, right? Or are they dirty shoes? You will notice more details. The more time, the more interaction you have with another person, the more you're going to notice, and the more the details matter. Now, why I thought this is an aha moment for you and your business and the valuation of your business, because that's what we're all about here, is helping you maximize the valuation of your business, is, look, at some point in time, people are going to start to notice the details about your business. If you're hoping to sell your business, the buyer, the more time they interact with you, the more they're going to notice little details. They're going to start to dig into the details, of course, of like the financials and so forth and your client details, but they're going to just notice things. And the nicer and the more polished everything is, the easier it's going to go. Like, so for instance, as I mentioned, last week, we were talking about reasonable doubt, right? My experience on the jury. I was talking about, hey, listen, if you're using the evaluation report from Trulytics to present to a would-be buyer, it's going to be crisp, clean. It's going to cover all the bases for that buyer, right? It's going to be one of those things that you put in front of them and that you've already started to alleviate reasonable doubt. But here's another thing that something like that does. It makes it look cohesive and unified, and everything kind of fits just nicely, kind of like you'd expect at Disney World. Everything looks themed and it looks like it goes together versus, hey, here's a spreadsheet. Hey, here's a Word doc. Oh, here's some other papers from before. No. This is a cohesive unit. Now, that didn't happen by accident, by the way. If you go back to and listen to episode 7, in which I had Jeremy Carnell, the president of Trulytics, on, he was at that time he was also the chief product officer and chief marketing officer, and he's since taken on the president's role. But one of the first things that Jeremy did when he came on to Trulytics, shortly after Terry Mullen and team had acquired the technology from Gladstone, was he looked at it and he said, hey, listen, we need to make this thing look nice. We need to make the user experience look better, because it was one of those old school legacy financial tools. And if you've been in the industry for a couple of decades, you remember what the old school financial products look like. And you still may use a few, right? They don't look like they were made in 2019. They don't look like they were made in the iPhone era, right? They look old and legacy-like, and they're clunky, and you need to go to several classes to learn how to use the tool and so forth. I mean, you remember that the early days where you had to take a weeks-long worth of classes to learn how to use any piece of software that the firm was expecting you to use. And right away, Jeremy said, hey, that's just not going to cut it in this day and age. Like, people are going to want to be able to log in and really quickly have it be the no-brainer. I know where to go from here. I know how to enter my firm's information, click next step, and get to a point where I'm starting to see value. Now, that actually took a couple of years to get to where it is now. And now it's super duper easy. If you go to Trulytics and you can do your evaluation report, you can get your pre-evaluation report, a high level one, in like 30 seconds. And then you can continue on and it'll walk you through super simple. It's like 7 steps of just super easy peasy type stuff. But in the early days, the back end of the system stayed the same, right? The details you couldn't see stayed the same. The technology looked the same. They just put nice, fresh duds on it, right? Made it look nice. The website was retooled to look nice, so that your first impression was like, well, oh, this is cool. Okay, this is fresh. This is something I can trust and feel comfortable with. So that was the experience at Trulytics. That was something that the team took very seriously. Jeremy and Kevin Gully and Terry Mullen, they took this stuff really, really seriously. Well, I would argue or submit to you that you should do the same for your business, because I want you to imagine if you were buying somebody else's business, or you were applying to work at somebody else's business, or if you were a client looking to bring your assets for somebody to manage. What are the details that you might notice over time? The quality of the report, the brochures, how nice is the office if you have one. And this doesn't mean everything has to be over the top, super high end, but is it crisp? Is it clean? Is it cohesive? Does it fit together? Does it look unified, right? Are there some things that are just kind of, if I started to go there once or twice, I might notice it and go, I don't know. Like, so for instance, go back to Disney there for an example. If you went into a restroom at Disney and you happen to notice a paper on the floor, like a paper towel on the floor, and you only went to the restroom once in the entire time you were at Disney World, and you saw, again, there's some paper towels on the floor, whatever, it might not be one of those things where you're like, I'm never going to Disney again. But if you went into the restroom, if you stayed there for a whole week, and every restroom you went, there was always papers all over the floor. The counters at the sinks were always wet and out of soap, and there's no out of paper towels in the dispenser, and just it was kind of like grungy. Doesn't look like the cleaning staff had been in there for several hours at least, if not maybe they haven't been there all day at all. You'd start getting like, what's going on here? It's kind of gross in the bathroom. Like, what else is happening? Like, your mind might think it's not the best place to be. Well, one little detail that I noticed was they station a cast member in the restroom. Basically, you walking into the men's room. I've only gone into the men's room. There's oftentimes a custodial staff member, cast member, if you will, there, always making sure that they're picking up papers, making sure that they're wiping down the counters, making sure that everything's clean. That is a detail that very few businesses pay attention to. You've all been to restaurants or businesses where you walk into the bathroom and you're like, what happened here? Now, that's a kind of, I wouldn't say an extreme, but it's one of those experiences that we don't always have top of mind. But that type of thing will matter to your client. It will matter to your prospect. If you're meeting in person with somebody who might be buying your business, that type of detail will matter. How clean is your office? How clean are the facilities if they had to use them? What does a break room look like? Right? Is it clean? Is it stocked nicely? And all those types of things. So make sure you do pay attention to the details, because the big stuff does matter, of course, right? The quality of your client roster, the quality of your employees, how well trained are they, how skilled are they, how tenured are they, and all those types of things matter. But some of the other details are going to matter too. Okay, so I really think it's important to pay attention to those, even if some of them feel small to you. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go and become a perfectionist, kind of OCD about every little thing about your business. But start to pay attention to those little things. And I think over time, you'll notice, okay, I can probably improve that. I can probably clean that up. I can probably shape things up. And it could be the website. It can be your brochures, the reports. It can definitely start with using the Truelytics evaluation report to make sure you have that first document being nice and clean and crisp and presentable. And frankly, you can use that as a guide for looking at some of your own documentation and saying, if I was a client, if I was a prospective advisor or agent and going to join this firm, how would I measure the quality of what was just put in front of me, right? So think about those things. Hopefully you found this helpful. I really enjoyed thinking about this. It was really kind of, I love the aha moments when they hit you, that you're like, oh man, this is a great little parallel for the conversation we're having together on this podcast. I do hope you're finding it beneficial. It's really nice when I hear from you. I actually heard from somebody today about the most recent episode, the past episode there, when I was relating my experience on jury duty with selling a business and getting past reasonable doubt. That was really fun, that episode. And it's really nice to hear from advisors and business owners that they're getting some value out of that. So as always, hit me up, Mike@Truelytics.com, or you can send something into the valuations@Truelytics.com email. You can hit me up on socials. I'm pretty much Mike Langford everywhere on social, @Mike Langford, and you'll get me. Or you can come to the Truelytics website. And there's a contact us form there. And of course, you can also follow Truelytics on all the socials as well. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn, and share it with a friend. This is always a good thing. Just share with your friend. Don't be greedy with this knowledge and this fun, this entertainment, this Disney aha moment that I had. Let somebody know, hey, this is kind of an interesting detail that we should be thinking about. Okay. Hope you're having a great day, and I'm looking forward to talking to you next time on the Valuations Podcast. See ya. Bye.